What is happening, Internet? J Game Dude here, and I thought I would make a Spyro 3 tier list, sort of the sequel to my Spyro 2 tier list, where I take all of the levels and then I just kind of rank them against each other on the tier list here. And, God, the levels are all over the place. Okay. I suppose we'll just get started from the top, because I kind of thought that the levels were going to be order like in Spyro 2. But I guess it is what it is. I'm going to partly be doing it differently than my Spyro 2 ranking, where I'll give half of the actual grading to what the location is, where it's based, and then another half on then the design of the level and the character and the gameplay surrounding it. So that's kind of how I'm going to be doing it. Starting off with Agent 9's lab. I really like Agent 9's lab because of the location. However, Agent 9's gameplay isn't great, and on top of that, it can be kind of difficult to get through, especially when you're doing the Your Dooms. Well, actually no, Your Dooms is in a different level, but it just to kind of let you know that Agent 9's gameplay isn't the greatest. In fact, it feels incredibly gimmicky. So I think for this one, I'm going to definitely probably put it as a C. I would have put it higher if it weren't for the fact that the gameplay wasn't inherently terrible, because of Agent 9 as a character. The only reason it skips D is because there's a lot of sort of ocean views, a lot of water, a lot of greenery. You've got the domes as well, which was, well, not the domes necessarily, but you've got the inside the laboratories and things like that. Not so much machines, but it does feel like a lab on the inside, this a massive dome-like structure. That's what I'm thinking of. I just can't remember exactly what it was, but it's a little bit after the beginning of the level. Next we have is Bamboo Terrace. Now Bamboo Terrace is from the second world, Midday Garden, if I remember right, which is after you pass. You've got Sergeant Bird's base right in the middle at the back when you enter Midday Garden, and if you go all the way to the left, you'll find Bamboo Terrace. This definitely feels like a final level in a homeworld, for sure. It feels nice. It's a nice location. It's got sort of a mountainous range. You deal with a lot of pandas. In terms of design, the only real concern in this level is going to be Bentley's little mini game where you have to go around this. I wouldn't even call it a pillar, but you do need to control Bentley while dodging or attacking rocks that get thrown at you. Not even dodging, just either attacking or smashing. So I guess the same thing essentially. And you need to reach the top while constantly getting attacked by Rhinox. So yeah, I think for this one, I'm gonna give it a B. Again, like I said, it looks good. The location is good. The theming is good. The worry, Bentley's gameplay is probably the worst. I think Sheila's is the best in terms of additional characters that were added on. So you got Sheila, Sergeant Bird, Bentley, and Agent 9. Hold on, am I missing someone? Bentley, Agent 9, Sergeant Bird, Sheila. I feel like I'm missing someone. Bentley's Outpost, Sheila's Alp, Sergeant Bird's base. Okay, yeah, no, that's all the characters. I thought for some reason there was 5 characters. I don't know why I thought that. Maybe I'm thinking of Sparks and that's why. But yeah, Bamboo Terrace at a solid B. Now we go to one of the Sparks levels, Bugbot Factory. I don't really like the Sparks levels, if I'm being completely honest. They all look exactly the same and feel the same. It's just that the theming around it is the only thing that changes, so it feels kind of lazy in that sense, and I kind of wish they did a little bit more with Sparks than just a top-down shmup. But it does change up the gameplay. Even so, I still feel like it's kind of lazy, so that's going at a D tier. Now, if there's one thing I don't remember about the Spyro 3 levels, are the boss fights. So I'm actually not going to do the boss fights except for the one against the sorceress. And the sorceress boss fight, I'm actually going to consider both equal parts the one you fight her in Midnight Garden and also during the fight in Super Bonus Round, because that is the only actual boss fight I remember, and it's been 4 years since I last played this game, so I'm going purely off of memory in equal capacity, so I might not have many things to say. Charmed Ridge. Now, I don't actually like Charmed Ridge that much because you can go from the beginning to the end quite easily, but there are a lot of platforms that really make you wonder, how the hell do I get up there? Or is it possible for me to get up there? So it does involve a lot of jumping around and trying to sort of manipulate the physics to your advantage in order to try and make certain things happen. But also, when you do reach the end of the level and you realize you missed a gem at the beginning of the level, going back to the beginning can be incredibly tedious and kind of difficult to do so. So if you do miss something, it's kind of hard to go back, and the whole collectathon nature behind playing a Spyro game is being able to openly go anywhere in the level at any point in time and get any collectibles that you might have missed. And if you did miss something because of a story related reason, like say a cave-in happened, you know, partway through a level, that usually is something that generally doesn't happen, but in the event that it does, there's always still a way to get back. Charmed Ridge doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel like it has that sort of open philosophy. And the flying witches that you need to help Hunter defeat, a couple rounds of actually, is probably one of the most annoying eggs in the entire game. So this one is definitely getting a solid C for me. It's like the gameplay for Agent 9 is so bad that it's carried by the location, but Charmed Ridge is equal parts terrible on both location and in terms of the actual the theming was well done though, so that's kind of what dodges it from being a D in my opinion. Cloud Spires, another level, so this one is from the first world, another level that I didn't quite like. I don't know why. Is it because it's massive, like there's a lot of gliding involved from place to place, similar to Charmed Ridge, and it's kind of annoying to get from location to location, you know, if you absolutely wanted to. I could absolutely see that being the reasoning, but I just didn't really like Cloud Spire that much, and I can't seem to articulate why exactly. So there are a couple of things that I could potentially suggest might have been the case, which is of course the same reason I didn't like Charmed Ridge, which was being able to go anywhere at any point in time. Kind of gets annoying in terms of the actual level design. The theming is okay. Again, it's just a bunch of like large buildings in the clouds. They did do some stuff in relation to the clouds, but I think at the end of the day I didn't really enjoy it that much. So that one is also getting a C rank from me. Wow, I'm being needlessly harsh on, I think, quite a lot of the Spyro 3 levels, but I think it's because Spyro 2 was definitely like, it had a lot of strong stuff going for it, I think. But even then I didn't give a lot of S ranks, unfortunately. Country Speedway. Theming is great. Location is okay. I can't say that, you know, the countryside makes for a good you know, theme for a level. But in saying that, the actual items that they use for the theming is actually pretty good. As I said, I don't really like speedways, but I get why they exist, so I'm actually going to be a little tad bit more lenient this time around on them, and I'm actually going to give this one a C as well. I don't think there really is much to say about that. Crawdad Farm, which is the first of Sparks' levels that you encounter in the game. And as an introduction to his gameplay, but also like how the bosses work and all that other stuff, I'm gonna definitely put that at a D as well, because again, it and all of the other Sparks levels, including Bugbot Factory, are pretty much the same. It's just that the location looks a little bit different, but even then, it just feels kind of lazy, even if it does change up the gameplay quite a bit. Keeping in mind that like Spyro 3 is a great game, don't get me wrong. It's just, I'm just being incredibly harsh on the actual like sort of criticisms of the level. Maybe I'm being a little bit too harsh, but you know, it really depends. Who you ask. Crystal Island. I really like Crystal Island. I don't know why. And it might be because I have an inherent bias towards beach-like, ocean-like locations. I'm gonna give Crystal Island an A because no matter how annoying the really long slide is, I had fun with the annoyance. The theming of the island, the crystal enemies, they all felt really nice. And the gameplay is, of course, you are Spyro, so you're just kind of going around doing your thing. And even though the Bentley section is incredibly annoying, we have to go around beating up a bunch of moles that come out of the ground, it still doesn't ruin it that much, if I'm being honest, though it can be quite annoying. Next we have is Desert Ruin. Now Desert Ruins, I'm going to put at a B rank, and the reason for this one is because deserts are inherently a really boring setting, but there is like an entire underwater section for Desert Ruins, which really adds a lot more to the level, and so they take an incredibly boring setting and make it incredibly interesting by adding a completely different level to it. But also Desert Ruins has, lava pits as well. Like, there's a lot of interesting hazards that are thrown in for good measure, so I think this level certainly does have a lot of good going for it. Dino Mines, I'm giving this an A rank. Now the reason why I give Dino Mines an A rank is because as much as I dunk on Agent 9's sections, his section in Dino Mines was actually really fun. Like, they really do change up the gameplay in a better way this time by actually turning to a genre that I think is a little bit more understated, which is the on-rail shooter. So allowing the on-rail shooter section to happen. There's a lot of water, a lot of sort of underwater areas, a lot of locations. There's the what's it called? The tunnel with the water that makes you pass through, and you need to get all of the gems and get the egg at the end. Yeah, that can also be annoying, but then again, it does change things up enough to where, like, you've got an interesting location that has more than a single portion to it. So you've got the sort of western inspired area of Dino Mines, and then you've got the water section as well, which is big enough to call itself a section, to be completely honest. So there's that as well. Now for the title level in Spyro 3, Fireworks Factory. This is probably the most polarizing level in the game because it's going for like ninja theme with like sort of ninja like enemies. Then you've got like a section with a couple of dragons that you fight, and then you've with like a super fire and super fire power up, and then you've got a section where you literally play like a round of Doom as Agent 9. Due to its incredible variety and it being sort of past the halfway part of the game, definitely in the latter half, I'm gonna definitely give this one an A. As again, another sort of like, I'm a sucker for Doom, without a doubt. And so being able to actually play like a side sort of referential version of that as Agent 9, I actually kind of like that. But also, Fireworks Factory does have a lot of variety going for it, in terms of its hazards and the things it asks you to do for each of the eggs. Now, the next level that we've got is Enchanted Towers. Now, as much crap as I give other levels, Enchanted Towers is immediately giving an S for the only reason that it's the skateboarding. The skateboarding is what sold me. I love Tony Hawk games. I love skateboarding games. Enchanted Towers has the best skateboarding level in all of the game, and I had so much fun with it. I kept going back to this level over and over again, replaying it as a kid. I have nothing but good things to say about that level. No matter how much negative things I have to say about Enchanted Towers, the skateboarding carries it. Also, the fact that you have to glide everywhere is kind of annoying, and the fact that it's individual towers is kind of like a bother to get to and from. But if it weren't for the Superfly power-up, it would have been lower, but that kind of saves it as well. Next, we're moving on to his Evening Lake. Now, the thing about Evening Lake is that it is the third world in the game, and it's an interesting world. It's got a lot of water, so it's like sort of, I want to say 30 to 35% is land, and then the rest is underwater. So I didn't really like the swimming. And I don't like the swimming in Spyro games, but I do like the theme that they went with Evening Lake. They do have a lot of good sort of like nooks and crannies to explore. It's not immediately obvious where the game is kind of going with its design, but it is nice to have. So this one is actually getting a solid B from me. I might not like the swimming, but at least it has some good ideas that are being implemented. Are they implemented well? That completely depends on you. For me, it's definitely a mixed bag, even so. Frozen Altar. This one was one of the more forgettable levels for me, if I'm being honest. This one's going at a straight C, and the reason for it is because actually, you know what, this is going to a B. The only reason it went up from C to B is because of the 2 rounds of boxing as Bentley the Yeti. So a bit of punch out does help it, but it's a very forgettable level for the most part. Its design is drab and boring. It doesn't add anything, unlike how Desert Ruins added an entire underwater section. Frozen Wasteland and deserts are the fundamental boring setting of any sort of level design, if I'm being honest. But yeah, they didn't actually, you know what? Back to see Frozen Altar goes, because yeah, if Desert Ruin is a B, it still is much better than Frozen Altar as a level. Yeah. Harbor Speedway. Now, Harbor Speedway is an interesting one. I really like water. I like beach-like locations. I like being able to look at the ocean and be like, man, that is an ocean. It looks cool. It looked cool. I'm giving this a B, because I would have given it an A if it weren't for a Speedway. But, you know, attacking the birds, charging through more rings, like, it's as standard as you can get. But what I really like about Harbor Speedway is that in order to find Hunter, you actually need to go inside of the actual lighthouse in Harbor Speedway, and I thought that was kind of cool that they actually hid him in a way which would make him very difficult to find. And unless you really like looked around after completing the Speedway, you'd be able to see it. So it does at least encourage some amount of exploration, which I really do appreciate, and generally you would assume that that does kind of happen, especially with Spyro 2's Icy Speedway. But Harbor Speedway, I think I found to be the most difficult to find in terms of like, where is Hunter exactly. That, and one that's actually coming up, Haunted Tomb. Now, the thing about Haunted Tomb is that it's such an interesting idea for a level, but it didn't work out as well as it should have. So they do have mummies, they do have, so it's pretty much like, you know, going into a haunted pyramid. They do a lot of good things with it. The thing that ruined it for me the most is the fact that there is a couple of eggs you can get from blowing up enemies and tanks in like a sort of tournament style battle, which frustrated the hell out of me on the PS1. But for some reason, when they re-released the game on PS4, it was significantly easier to play through. So this one is also getting a solid C from me. It's not inherently terrible, but it isn't particularly great either. And it's let down mostly by that and the fact that the slide is way too short. I think that they should have made the slide a bit longer, like they did with Crystal Island. That was a great slide. Moving on, Honey Speedway. Now this is the other one I was talking about when I was talking about Harbor Speedway. Honey Speedway, solid B. I like the honey theme. I like the use of bees, honeycombs, and the fact that Hunter is fairly difficult to find, and also it's a fairly unique task that is asked of you, which is Hunter is on a boat in the Honey River as you try and protect him. Like, that's actually kind of cool. It does change things up in a nice way, and honestly, sheep sources, they've been a really weird thing that has existed in the game for quite some time, so you know, it is what it is. Icy Peak, one of the first levels that I normally jump into, so this is the first level I jump into in midday, in the midday world, and as neat as it is to go from place to place, using the what's it called? the thing that you hold on to and it just slides you down. It's not a slide necessarily, it's just something that you hold on to. That's probably the only good part about the level. The rest of it I actually did not like. Yeah, I'm gonna put this at a D. I didn't actually like Icy Peaks again. It definitely falls under the Frozen Alta category of icy location being just incredibly boring, but not doing enough with it to make it interesting enough. There is the whole like thief area that you could absolutely go into, but thieves make me boil my blood more than anything. So I should probably just leave it at that. Lost Fleet. Okay. This is okay. Lost Fleet. This is a level I don't think much about. So I think immediately that should tell me everything I need to know. But the thing about it is, it's supposed to be a haunted ship, surrounded by lots of like pits of acid spewing, acid, poison, toxicity, and all that sort of thing. Yeah, I don't really know what to say about it. It just feels like a C, because as much as I praise the skateboard section for Enchanted Towers, Lost Fleet is about racing on skateboards, and I prefer doing tricks rather than racing. So already that is lesser than something that we've seen earlier on in the game, and what with it being the third level in the game. There was the underwater section, not underwater, under acid section, where you need the invincibility power up to go underwater, the poison toxic thing, whatever you want to call it, and you use your ship, your shark ship, to kind of fire at a bunch of enemies. Yeah, I don't really know what to do with this one. It just feels like a C. It doesn't feel solid in many ways, but it doesn't feel terrible either. Midday Garden. I'm giving this an S. I really like Midday Garden. The water view, the nice serene atmosphere, the music, the location just feels nice. It does what any sort of like it gives me Summer Forest vibes, but not quite. I think Summer Forest is a league on its own when it comes to home level structure, music, location, design. So this is kind of where my bias is clearly going to show for, again, water-based, ocean, beaches, and that sort of thing. Like, I can keep going on and on about that, but this is kind of where it definitely will show. And there is another level or two later on that will certainly also add to that. Midnight Mountain. This game is... Ooh. Do I want to give this an S or an A? I'm going to give this an A. Now, the reason why I want to give Midnight Mountain an A is because it's a great location. It's just like Midday Garden, it serves its purpose as a as a hub world. Beating up Moneybags was great. Getting all of the eggs is great. Hell, they only list 5 eggs in the game, but there's literally a 6th egg in the in this world that can be kind of a bother to find if you don't look it up on a walkthrough. There's some good stuff in terms of secrets. The only thing that I would say is a bit of a complaint as far as like Midnight Mountain is concerned is it's way too easy to run off the edges. Yeah, because the thing about Midday Garden is that you can't possibly die. Midnight Mountain you can lose lives by accident. So while I enjoy its design and I like everything about it, the fact that it can be annoying when you're charging from place to place and you're not paying attention, and then next thing you know you just charge off the edge, that happens a lot. That happened a lot to me. Also, for some reason there's hazards in a hub world. That doesn't really make too much sense to me. For a hub world, there shouldn't really need to be any sort of hazard, and if there should be a justifiable reason for them. Midnight Mountain, there doesn't seem to be. I just kind of wish that the locations were a little bit more sort of cohesive. But it is what it is. But at this point, you should probably be used to kind of like most of what the game's going to throw at you. So it's still on the easier end of like being able to avoid hazards and all of that sort of thing. Molten Crater. This one is getting a solid C? C. It's an incredibly basic level. But of course it's at the very beginning, so you kind of expect that. if it weren't for because Sergeant Bird's is the task is the one that's kind of ruining it for me, which is, you know, going around dodging fireballs of getting hit while attempting to pick up and put idol heads on the idols themselves, which is the task you reach at the very end of the level. That one kind of frustrated me far more than it had any reason to. But in terms of actual like level design, it does seem to be a lot more on the boring end as well. It seems quite basic as well. So I think for the most part it's okay. But then it's just that the idol head thing really did kind of mess things up for me. I don't know. Yeah, it doesn't feel like as if it's a particularly solid level. Mushroom Speedway. This one I was gonna give an A, but then I realized it's a speedway, therefore B. I really like the whole ocean view, the water, the greenery, the whole mushroom theme is done incredibly well. Like, there's a lot of good stuff here, so I don't really have much in the way of complaints by it, besides the fact that it's a speedway, but that's really about it. Now we've returned to another ice-based level. We've had a lot of different types of like locations, you know, Dynamines being in the western, Fireworks Factory being a literal fireworks factory, Midnight Mountain, Bamboo Terrace, Desert Ruins, Evening Lake, you know, Harbor Speedway. This is the third icy level we have, and at this point I'm kind of tired of the whole icy levels. In fact, are all of them? Icy Peak is D, Frozen Altar is C, so yeah, Bentley's Outpost is going for a solid C. The only reason why it's not a D is because the actual, like, I have one good thing to say, and that's I like Bentley as a character, and that's it. You know, I don't really have much more to say. I'm gonna ignore Scorch's Pit because he's a boss. Sea, Shell, Shore. This is going at a solid A. As much as I like the beach-like locations and serene atmosphere, it's the Blue No boss that kind of, you know, gobs in my porridge a little bit here, so rather than giving it an S, I'm giving it an A. Otherwise, I do actually kind of like everything else. Busting, located, you know, playing as Sheila in the level was really nice. You know, going around busting, you know, those giant structures. You know, like I really had a lot of fun with that. Sergeant Bird's base, this is a D. I don't like Sergeant Bird. I don't like his gameplay whatsoever. That's, and then the actual level design, while it's kind of neat, it's more of an annoyance and it's significantly less practical than it comes off as. Moving on, Sheila's Alps. I'm so tempted to give this an S, but I'm probably going to give this an A actually. Because, again, I like the location, I like Sheila's gameplay, it's the closest to that of Spyro. Okay, now I'm actually considering giving it an, you know what? S. Sheila's Alps is an S. I absolutely love it. I don't have any reason to justify why there isn't any reason to hate it. It's just jumping takes a bit of getting used to, especially really high locations, but you know, it's not hard. Sorceress's Lair. Okay, so this is the boss fight against the sort of single round boss fight, because the reason why I say single round is because Ripto's boss fight was 3 rounds before, and this is a significantly lesser version and a massive letdown of a final boss anyways, so D rank. But also what makes this even equal parts unfortunate is that there's a bit of a tease at the end, which leads to a tease that she returns, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, because I'm definitely going to be bringing that up. The spider, crap, another Sparks level. D. That's all I have to say. That's it. Next we have the Spikes Arena boss fight, so I'm just gonna ignore that because I can't remember it. Spooky Swamp. So Spooky Swamp hid a 25 gem that I couldn't find as a kid for the longest amount of time, until I eventually accidentally charged into a wall and found the last 25 gems by accident. All about lighting up the lamps and helping out the Firefly guys. Spooky Swamp has got an interesting feel to it, but because of its sort of dark, dreary atmosphere, it lets it down quite significantly, similar to like how Hurricane was let down because of its dreary, dark, rainy, sort of like, it feels like it's trying to make you feel bad or kind of miserable while playing. Spooky Swamp has a similar vibe to it, except it's not as dreary, but I'm still going to give it a C anyways. Yeah, I'm still going to give it a C anyways. Next we have Starfish Reef. Alright, next we have Sunny Villa. This one's getting an A. This is an introductory level to both platforming, skateboarding, and general like sort of like fighting enemies and stuff. I like it. It's surprisingly open compared to quite a lot of like levels in this game. The music is great, cheerful. The sunny theme works really well. It's highly recommended you play as Sheila before you play this level because, again, jumping around playing as Sheila is also quite a lot of fun. It really does take advantage of Sheila's abilities of being able to jump really high and stomping on things. So I think that the Sunny Villa is a great level, but it isn't quite as good as like Sheila's Alps, Midday Garden, or the skateboarding areas in Enchanted Towers. Even though Sunny Villa does have skateboarding, the park was not as well designed as Enchanted Towers. Enchanted Towers was made to be a springing park. I'm going to do Super Bonus Round first because I'm going to get the dreary out of the way before I work on the real good stuff. Super Bonus Round is a solid D. The reason why is because, as usual with Spyro games, the additional bonus levels don't really do much in terms of like actually it's not as good. It's just a bunch of like levels or a bunch of tasks you do where you just go around and collect everything and that's it. The collectathon is fun, but at least add something to it rather than it just kind of being like this sort of very boring, generic-ish location. So they take the ice location and instead you need to jump from like place to place, from platform to platform, because it's completely covered in like hazards. And even if you do get all of the gems to unlock the final door, it's a boss fight against the sorceress. So she does actually return from sorceress's lair. And it's an insultingly bad boss fight. I'm trying to think of like good boss fights in this entire series, and the only one I can think of is Gulp. Gulp was a solid boss fight. Brought in a genuine challenge. Yeah, it took a little while to beat him, but like I don't remember the bosses in this game all that much, which is why I've kind of just ignored him completely. But ignoring the bad and going on to the good, Sunrise. Absolutely getting an S rank. I love the first world in the game. It is great. The music is nice. The locations are great. It's varied enough where you've got like you've got like the green locations. Then you've got the water at the back where Seashell Shore is just before you go onto the balloon. You've got the cave that's ahead of you, which you can get in another egg there. You've got areas behind you from when you immediately start. There's a good variety of levels as well, in terms of like, I think some of the best levels in the game were actually at the very beginning. Like I'm talking about Sunny Villa, I'm talking about Seashell Shore, I'm talking about what's it called? Molten Crater is hit or a miss. Mushroom Speedway. Yeah. I think I have nothing but good things to say about Sunrise Spring. It is a solid S rank. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the Spyro 3 levels. Now I did go through it a bit more quickly because there are a lot of levels in this game compared to other games in the series for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's just a longer game in general, but I did want to kind of like provide my thoughts in a more succinct manner because I feel like on YouTube people don't really watch videos all that much, and if they do, it's only because you need to hook them right away and then they kind of stick around. Maybe I'm just not all that entertaining, so I'm talking a little bit faster, going through things a little bit quicker, and if I miss a few details, then that's just a kind of a mistake on my part and I can correct myself like later on, either in another video or just putting something into or replying to the comments, because at the moment as a YouTuber I'm so small that like I can just kind of respond to everyone, and that's neat. So hopefully this is again something that falls under anyone's jam, and if it does, let me know what you guys think of your tier list as well for Spyro 3 levels, and I will actually put the link for this in the description below. But other than that, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.